And before we go into our regular program, I just want to remind people that this Saturday, May 6th, is the citywide cleanup. There are sites all over the city where neighborhoods are getting together to clean up, including Riverside Park, which is where I'll be. The cleanup is from 9 to noon. And at the park, at least, it won't be just picking up trash. There are plants to put in the ground and mulch to spread. So if you want to do gardening as opposed to just cleaning, come to the park. My guest tonight is Kristin Clarke. She is the Executive Director of New London Main Street. Welcome, Kristin.
Thanks.
And you have a very long history with New London Main Street, probably since it was a newly formed organization.
Yeah, you know, it goes back to 1999, actually. I had my job interview 2 days before I got married. So I worked there from 1999 to 2003, and then went on sort of a circuitous path a little bit, studied some urban planning, and then came back. I worked for New London Landmarks for a little bit, and then did some stints with the town of Ledyard, town of Groton, and then the city of New London for a while. And then I have been at New London Main Street. I was the interim director from November, and now am officially the executive director.
So it's sort of full circle, except that you're doing probably more strategic planning stuff than you were when you first started almost 20 years ago.
I know, isn't that crazy? 20
that
years.
Is. And that was a period of huge growth for New London Main Street. I think OpSale was its first big project. It had committees, but that was huge.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And and this is taking it back a while, but people that were involved with OpSale, there were sort of two programs. There was looking at what was going on the water side of the railroad tracks, and then sort of on what was on the city side of the railroad tracks. And Main Street worked with so many great partners and so many volunteers to really look at how do we engage and how do we create some great programming within the city of New London, not just where the great tall ships were. And so that was a lot of engagement with volunteers and a lot of volunteer training. And it was just great to be a part of that and to really see what this kind of a grassroots, organization could do for working on comprehensive revitalization work in downtown New London.
And I think some of the things that were started there we've kind of taken for granted, but they're still in place.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, some of the downtown cleanups started, and the citywide cleanups were kind of hand in hand. And next year, my goal is to be able to do 2 cleanups in downtown New London, and engaging different volunteer groups, whether it's residents that are in downtown New London, which is something that was missing back in 1999. And
that's really growing now. I'm now on the Planning and Zoning Commission, and there are a lot of applications for residential development in the upper stories. It's so exciting.
It really is. It's very exciting. And that's what we are, with one of the projects we'll talk about in a little bit that we're hoping to do is, overall, we're trying to make sure that all the programs and projects that New London Main Street are working on come back and benefit some sector of the downtown population. So whether we're talking businesses, property owners, residents, or other great partners in the nonprofit sector, we want to make sure that they're all benefiting in some way, or at least one of the groups is benefiting as a result of what we're doing.
Now, the event that's coming up next is actually coming up very soon, next week.
Food stroll.
And this is something that has a pretty long history itself.
It does. I am not even sure when the program started, but we were talking, and Tracy Tremblay, who is our board president, was sort of estimating that she thought it was at least like 12 or 14 years old. And so this we have twice a year, and it's a great opportunity for restaurants and for some of our other non-restaurant partners to pair up with another business or another, a caterer to bring some food into downtown and to get people to come in and really experience all the great things that are in downtown New London. There's live entertainment, there's some fun beverage choices, there's all sorts of different restaurant options. And we've got everyone from, the social and hot rods and fat boys participating, all the way down the road to Subway. There's a Sunrise Cafe, which is a new place that does breakfast. Gus's Pizza, which has taken over where Copperwoods was. And then we have some
probably
other,
all the way up State Street.
all the way up State Street. We've actually, the library's participating, and we've got Chef Tom over at the Whaler Cafe. The focaccia bread that he sells at ShopRite,
yeah.
That's what they're gonna have, is the focaccia. So if you haven't tried it yet, or if you've thought, I'm not so sure if I wanna buy this, well, you can try it at the food stroll. Brigade is participating. They're partnered up with Liberty Bank. So that's going to be really fun. I think Holmberg's Orchards is going to come in and do a little bit of a beverage sampling. So that's going to be really neat too. The Eyeglass Lass is going to participate. Bangkok City and Swad Tandoori, which is where Northern Indian Restaurant were. So some of the ones that have been here a really long time, some of the newer ones. Two Wives Pizza always does a great job. And Sweeties is going to participate again, and they haven't in a while. And I think that covers all of the ones we have so far. Oh, and Heavy Hitters is going to be providing beverages also. So lots of fun choices, and a few others that we haven't been able to finalize just yet.
Now, if people want to buy tickets, where do you find tickets?
So there's a couple of ways. The Guard box office is handling the majority of the ticket sales, online sales, as well as in-person sales. For more of the group, right now, the tickets are $30 a piece. On the day of the event, it'll be $35. There are some discounts for members of the military, for children, things like that. But right now, if you buy 6 tickets or more together, it's $25 a ticket. Those larger group sales we can handle in our office. And all that information is available on newlondonmainstreet.org, which is our website, or you can go right to the Guard's website too, but we have it all right there.
And it is rain or shine, and we always
It's
hope
rain
for,
or shine, and
for
holy
shine.
smokes, this spring has been tricky, but yes, maybe it'll be a day just like today that started off iffy and is gorgeous right now.
Yeah, tonight would be a wonderful evening to be strolling
So we've got our
downtown.
fingers crossed for next week. It's a week from tomorrow, so 5:30 to 8:30.
And we do have a couple slides showing the posters.
Yep.
And
Yeah, and we've got Dime Bank is partnering with us. They are acting as the restaurant investor sponsor. And then the Guard, Q105, The Day, the City of New London, Fast Signs, and K100.9 are our partners on this.
and here's some ticket purchase
Exactly.
info. And, I can't help but remember that when the food strolls still first started, there was a lot of concern because people who lived in surrounding communities still feared coming into the downtown. I think that was one of an early impetus for starting this.
Sure, absolutely. And that anytime you're going into a new community, it's a little bit tricky. You don't know where to park, you're not really sure where you're going. And a food stroll is an opportunity to bring people in for a fun, lively event, bring a lot of people in at the same time. And then just be able to, there's music on the street, there are people directing you around. So it's something that's meant to be really a very user-friendly event. The check-in will be at the Guard. That's where we'll have everyone pick up their buttons if they don't get them ahead of time. And then it'll just be a great stroll all around downtown. And Fiddleheads is participating also. I forgot them
So
before.
really, you get to eat a lot, but you really have to walk
You
a
do.
lot as well.
There's a lot of walking, exactly. So, you burn off your calories, right? Well, maybe.
It's nice to believe that. There's certainly no reason why not to go.
Exactly. And then one thing that we're doing this year that we haven't done before is after the food stroll, we are going to put all of the items that people served for the food stroll onto our website with contact information, address, all that kind of, because I've been on the food stroll before, and you know, you have your map and you have your button and you're wandering around and you're eating so many great things, but at some point, if you're not, even if you know where all the restaurants are, you think, oh, there was that one item that I thought was phenomenal, but I don't remember where it was, and I remember the item. So this is one of the ways that we're going to try a little bit, something different, and say, okay, let's put all those items up, and then people can say, oh, that great food item was here. I'm gonna go back there.
Yeah, so it's a little less of a blur the day after.
Exactly. Once you get out of that food coma. And this is a way that we're hoping that we can get people to come back into the restaurants. There was a great restaurant week that some of the restaurants put together this winter, and we want to make sure that we can help people, you know, get people to come back and to come back into the restaurants when it's less busy also.
And then coming in, you know, the summer season, we especially want people to be coming to downtown New London.
Exactly. And you know, to kick off the summer season, we have another great event coming up on June 3rd, and that is the Connecticut Family Festival. And this is a new name for a festival that has been going on for more than 10 years. So what we have done is pair Fishtails Tugs and Sails, which was a festival that New London Main Street had been partnering for quite a while on. And we have paired that with the Hygienics Kidstock music festival that was going on. And what we've done is put them together, and instead of having them in the middle of the summer when it seems to be the two hottest days of the summer that those festivals fall on, in June, the temperature should be much more pleasant. It'll be before the end of the school year, so we'll really be able to work with the students in school all throughout New London, whether it's New London Public Schools, some of the charter schools, St. Joseph, and just make sure that we get the information out in their backpacks before the end of the school year. So there's two locations. It's in the Waterfront Park, as well as at the Hygienic Art Park. And this is a free family festival. It celebrates literature, literacy, the arts, boats, music, the environment, and just environmental stewardship as well. And we partner with New London Youth Affairs, with NESS, that's New England Science and Sailing, the Hygienic, Connecticut Family Magazine. They are all partners with us on this. The Public Library of New London are our partners for this. And we just have some great authors that are going to be participating. Tish Robb is going to be there. And one of the things that's great with that is, I guess, all of the students that are going into kindergarten, she has a book about starting kindergarten, and before school starts, they're all going to get that book.
Oh, wow.
So they'll be able to hear Tish this summer and then get one of her books, which I think is really cool. Who else is participating? Mina Bassetto, who has written a book about bullying.
Oh yeah, in fact, the illustrator of that book, Paul Santiago, lives across the street from me.
See, and there's another local connection.
So there's a huge local connection with that book.
Absolutely. Peter Mandel, who's written a couple of books related to boats on a river, and another great one that's about cruise ships. And then Kristin Geronimo has written a really interesting book. She adopted a little girl from, I believe it's Ethiopia. I could be wrong on the country, and her daughter wasn't used to having clean water, and she saw her daughter this one day, and she was lapping up water from a puddle in the driveway. And so it was this sort of quest about, and it's a book about getting clean water and how important clean water is. And so she's a Connecticut author as well, and she's going to be coming to the festival, which is great. And on the music side, we're going to have Steve Elsey, of course, is always a crowd pleaser. Steve Songs is sort of the headliner. And then there's just some other great opportunities. Project Oceanology is coming. I'm trying to think what else we have in the way of vessels. They're going to have their touch tank. families are going to be able to actually get out and go sailing with Ness. They're bringing over their small fleet of vessels, and they're going to bring people out and teach them some sailing.
Day, I have to tell
It
you.
absolutely is. It's from 10 until 4, sort of 10 till 2 down in the waterfront park, and then 12 to 4 at the Hygienic Art Park. And we're also going to be pairing the Big Picture, which is another one of these great events that we do, sort of a fun, get everyone who loves New London to come downtown. We haven't set the time just yet, but it's going to be during the Connecticut Family Festival. We think what we're going to do is we're kicking the festival off with the arrival of one of the tugboats from Cross Sound Ferry, and with a great the Bucket Brigade from Isaac School. So that's going to lead the festival in. I think we're going to try and do the Big Picture then. We're hoping to engage the water taxi also. And then there'll be other performances from Nathan Hale Arts Magnet School, and then it's just a great tent filled with arts and crafts and different types of activities for kids, with so many partners. The Denison Pequot Seapost Nature Center, the Art Barn that's over in Niantic is participating, I think Lyman Allen, so just some really great partners.
And it sounds like it's for kids pretty much all ages, not really targeted to just early elementary or preschool, or it sounds as though
absolutely. This is
wide range.
It's a pretty wide range. It's meant to have something for everyone. Absolutely.
And that's on June 3rd.
It's on June 3rd. Yep. And if you're coming, bring your own refillable water bottle. We have a Zip2 water refill station, and we're going to be giving out water bottles also. But if you have your own, that's what we're encouraging people to do.
Oh, that's a great idea. And I made a slide of this only because it's actually two sides of a bookmark.
Yes,
so
exactly.
I'm guessing somewhere around town there are bookmarks, or will be bookmarks.
There will be bookmarks, exactly. They're actually going to go home in students' backpacks later in May, and then I think that we'll have some around town as well.
Well, it sounds like a lot of fun. So June 3rd on the waterfront.
On the waterfront, exactly. 10 a.m., be there for the Big Picture, be there for the tugs coming in, and for a great bucket brigade, and then stay throughout the day and slide on over to the Hygienic Art Park, and then you'll get some great fun music as well.
So two great events, but Main Street does a lot more.
You're absolutely right.
So maybe we can talk about some of the new programs that people might not know about at all.
Sure. And we had, so since I've come in November, what I have taken a look at is kind of where Main Street is and overall what Main Street programs often do, and just trying to figure out what we can do to provide more value and to add more to what we're doing. And so the board of directors over the summer made a strategic decision that they were looking to focus initially on promotion and marketing. That's something that Main Street has done really well for quite a while. We have a very tourism-focused website. We put together a mapping guide that's used quite often.
Yes, in fact, I have.
You have a copy of one.
A screenshot.
And that's from our new website that we just launched. We're going to get a close-up on this one.
We will. We'll get a close-up on this.
So our website, it's the same web address. It's newlondonmainstreet.org, and that's all spelled out, no dots or dashes. But we have this, it's a Google-style map with all of the pinpoints on it. And if you see right here on the side, those are little check boxes, and they're individual layers. And what that means is that if you're only interested in, say, shopping and arts and culture, you can uncheck all the other boxes and you'll only see shopping and arts and culture on it.
And it's all color-coded.
It's all color-coded. And then if you click on those individual exclamation points or pinpoints there, you're going to get information on what's in that spot. And then some will have more information as well. They have enhanced listings. We still have the calendar of events, and this is a great opportunity also for all of our partners, no matter what types of events are being put together. But it's a calendar of regional events, and New London Main Street has had a calendar of events on its website for a really long time, but we are partnering with the Chamber of Commerce of Eastern Connecticut, the Norwich Bulletin, the Southeastern Connecticut Cultural Coalition, the Day, and a few other partners as well. Norwich Creates, I believe, too. And this is a regional calendar, because this is the one thing that people always said is that, oh, I've got to put my information in this calendar and that calendar and the other calendar, and 3 hours later.
And honestly, the distances are not that great.
They
if
are
you're
not
talking
that great.
Southeast
Exactly,
Connecticut.
exactly. And so what you can do,
And I do actually have a screenshot of
the calendar.
a small
segment of the
piece
calendar, exactly. And New London Main Street is one of the entry points. So you can go to our website, and if you click on it, you can see right there, it says post your event. And you put in all your information, add the photographs, contact information, description, date, time, whatever it is that you have. Double check what you're doing, because once you hit send, that's the last point that you can change the information. It can be updated and edited, but that's done. The Chamber of Commerce is sort of the gatekeeper of the calendar. So you can change it, you just email them and they'll fix it for you. But once you hit send, that will post in all of those places, which is great.
Yeah, it's a huge, it's a big comprehensive calendar.
It
In
really
fact, when we
is.
have our little community calendar that we do at the end of the show, the Main Street calendar is one of the places
It's a
to
great
check
one.
for resources.
Absolutely. And then we take that information and send it out on a weekly basis in an e-blast that we call This Week in New London. And so that's another thing that we do. And so this is lots of talk about the great promotional stuff that we've done. And I said, okay, well, but promotion can be something more than just promoting events and promoting the downtown. And I said, okay, another way of looking at this is saying, what's going to bring people to downtown? What's going to support a segment of our downtown community? And what isn't already being done? And if we can look at the things that we're working on and say, this is going to bring people downtown in some way. This is going to benefit whomever, and we're not duplicating efforts, that there's a gap in services, then we're going to look at this and say, okay, what is the role that we should play? And so one of these new projects that we're kicking off is called Light Up New London, and it's pretty exciting, and it's a need, because downtown New London, there are a lot of storefronts that at night after dark that don't have lights turned on. Either people don't have timers, either there's some vacant storefronts, there are businesses that just don't really use their storefront windows all that much. And this has been a complaint really since I was working at Main Street the first time.
And probably people were complaining for a long time, even before that.
Exactly. And so we took a look at that and said, okay, is there a way that we can start trying to fix that problem? And we have written 2 grants and been successful in both of them. We have received, or will be receiving, funding from Dominion Foundation. And also we have been selected to participate in a crowdfunding challenge that's going on right now till May 22nd.
Okay, and we do have a slide.
We
that
have a
shows
slide.
something about it.
Exactly. So this is from IOB. And this is a crowdfunding site that I've never heard of before.
Nothing about IOB.
IOB is the opposite of NIMBY.
Oh.
NIMBY is not in my backyard, right?
Right.
So IOB is in our backyards. And so all of the projects that they have listed are community building projects. And so Light Up New London, we are raising funds right now, and there's a challenge, there's a match to it. And we need to raise only $240 more to receive our full match. But the National Main Street Center has selected 15 projects from 5 states across the country. I think we're the only one in Connecticut, but I might be wrong. And if we raise $1,500, we'll earn $1,500. So and we are close to that goal. We're hoping to raise a bit more than that. I think we have $240 left.
Now, what's the timeline? Do you have to have a deadline?
So the match, that extra $240, and then we'll get another $240. That needs to be raised by May 22nd. But this project is something that we're seeing that can be done sort of block by block. And we're starting on Upper State Street because the vacancies downtown, the vacancy rate is not that much different than it's been in the past. But a lot of them are concentrated in Upper State Street right now. And so what this is going to do is enable us to work with businesses and property owners to put in lights. And we're looking for really high efficiency. We're saying LED. It may not be LED in the end, but we're saying LED. Timers, power strips. If some electrical work needs to be done, we're going to try and work on that. If there are permits that are needed because the electrical work needs to be done, we're going to work on that as well. So this funding is coming in. Dominion Foundation has provided a large amount of money for this. And then Eversource, we're going to be able to pair with their rebate programs. Advanced Home Improvements is going to help with some of the assessment and kind of do that as an in-kind donation of taking a look and saying, this one really just needs a couple lights you can plug in. Someone else is going to need more complicated lighting solutions, so that we'll know going into that.
And here is a very dark picture.
Yes, it is. It is. So this is on Meridian Street. This is right around the corner from us. And you can see one of the storefronts that has lights on, and then a couple that don't. And lighting is one of these things that when things are lit, people feel it's more welcoming, people want to stay longer, and people will keep walking. I keep joking, it's a little bit like when you go trick-or-treating with the child, right? And you're getting close to the end of the evening, and there are a couple of houses with no lights on, and one way down 3 blocks away with the light on. And you say, you know what, I think we're done, we're good.
Yeah.
If the lights were on, you would keep going. Well, that's just human nature because the lights are on.
Well, and there's another.
Yep, that's on State Street.
And once again, it's very spotty lighting in some of those areas. I think if you are on Bank Street, it's pretty bright, or Lower State Street might be pretty bright.
So our goal with this is to start on Upper State Street because there's going to be a big visual change once this happens. The lights are going to be inside the storefronts, not on the outsides of the buildings. And once we get through a decent segment of that, we can take a look and figure out where are the other areas that feel unsafe and why is that, or that don't feel as welcoming and why are they not as welcoming? Is it the lighting? Well, then we can try and fix that. This isn't the be-all, end-all. This is not the end of the project because once we get lights in the storefronts, what we want to do is then start working on some storefront window displays or other, everyday cleaning type projects and things of that sort.
Well, I had 2 thoughts as you were talking about
Sure.
it. One, Upper State Street seems perfect in another way that once you cross Huntington, there's a lot of residential property there. People live there, and if we want them to walk, if they go downtown to Bank Street, they're going to walk along State Street, except they won't if it doesn't feel safe.
Exactly. And exactly. People coming out of their homes, people coming out of the guard at night, we want them to say, you know what, let's walk down and have a dessert, or, I'm still hungry, let's have a snack, or whatever it is that people choose to do. And if they feel as though there's a place to go and a path to take that's going to feel welcoming, they're going to do that. But as soon as someone's in their car, chances are they're just going home.
Definitely. And, people are sort of nostalgic in a way about darkness in the country, but city mentality is different. You don't really feel safe in empty spaces and dark spaces in the middle of a city. You might feel that way if you're really getting away from it all and you're in the woods. But once you're in an urban area, crowds and light really make you feel a lot more secure than darkness and desertion.
You're absolutely right. And in this case, and in a lot of cases, it's perception. It's not necessarily a reality. But if you don't feel welcome, if you don't feel like you're in a safe space, that's not a great feeling to have. I don't enjoy that, and I'm sure that you don't either. It's just one of those things that when you don't have a safe feeling, then you think, okay, I need to go somewhere that feels safe. So we want to create a safer feeling, and so this project is going to help with that. And this storefront project that we're hoping to do going forward is going to fill up some storefronts with more simple displays that'll help businesses if they're interested in doing some visual merchandising, in promoting what either their business is, or maybe we can find a community partner to put some interesting display in the window. And this is something that's meant to be not necessarily a public art display, which they're great and they have a great purpose as well, but just something that every day that we could change out seasonally. I just put up, or we had some volunteers help putting up, some flower pots and some watering cans in our window, just to create something that's sort of interesting, a little whimsical, kind of fun, but just to put something into our windows.
Now, in the meantime, your office has moved to Upper State Street,
We are,
correct?
yeah. We're at 311 State Street. We used to be above where Minuteman Press is at 147 State Street, but we're in that storefront. We're right next to the Guard. And we, we're one of the storefronts that doesn't have lights in our windows right now. Yet, exactly.
So, yeah, well, speaking of the storefronts, the lighting project sounds great, but of course, ultimately, we want to fill them up.
We do.
And a lot of interesting businesses do tend to come to New London and do well. What's your take on how we can get more?
That is, and I have worked in economic development in a
That's
few
why I asked.
communities, absolutely. And what my take on this right now is, it's a little bit like when you're thinking about selling a house, right? You put your house on the market and it looks great in the pictures, and you do a bunch of work to get it ready, even though you're leaving. Or even though you're not going to be in that space. And I feel like some of these projects that I'm talking about related to Main Street and working throughout downtown, it's a little bit like staging for when development comes. Because a storefront that looks ready to move into is going to be easier to perceive your business in. And we will be working very closely with our counterparts with the city or with other development agencies and how it makes sense. But I think that's an important step, is being able to say, this looks ready to move into, and it is ready to move into.
And one thing in New London that always strikes me, it's really hard to predict what kind of business is going to want to move in and succeed. I think of a business like Drunken Pallet, and like, who would ever get together and like in an economic development meeting and say, let's open a place where people can paint and drink wine.
Absolutely. It's such a fun, interesting business model, isn't it?
And no one would have gone after that.
No, exactly. And I think that there's a lot of interesting opportunity. As we go through the next 6, 12, 18, 24 months, somewhere in there, it's going to be fun to see how some of the members at the Spark Makerspace and the Spark Co-op, if they're able to take it from kind of being a part-time or almost not quite a hobby situation, but to a point where it's becoming truly a business, something that you could imagine yourself sustaining and not just honing a skill and doing something where you consign in one location. And that's going to be really exciting to see, is how do we work with, whether you're talking pop-up businesses or things like that. The Create Here Now project that New London Main Street had a couple of years ago, some of those pop-up businesses are still in the spaces. The Eyeglass Glass is a great example, the Hive Skate Shop, another one. And those are really exciting things, that they've been able to take a program like that and really be able to sustain. That's a unique, it's not quite risky, but it's not a stable situation. And so that's one of those things, is trying to figure out, are there spaces, are there maybe a larger, instead of just having a table at the Spark Emporium, maybe
Right.
it's going into half of a storefront with somebody else and seeing how that is able to make things work.
Yeah, that's an interesting idea, because it seems as though the Spark Makerspace has so much going on, and they have a licensed kitchen, and then like the wood shop is right next to it, and the computers are right. So it seems as though there could be room for expansion into
Sure.
some of other endeavors within a block or two away
Absolutely,
from it.
and I think that's really exciting. And I know they have some interesting ideas, and that's one of those things that we're happy to figure out how we can help or partner or promote any of that. So,
Well, okay, so if someone wants to get involved in New London Main Street, what are the various ways people can do it?
we are working very hard to re-engage and grow our volunteer engagement again. It's been a little tricky for me as I've been trying to sort out everything, all the programs and all of the things that Main Street is doing. But there is a few opportunities that are coming up. One, the Trolley Information Station is a partnership that we have with the Chamber of Commerce of Eastern Connecticut. And this is someone who has a couple of hours, whether it's on the weekend or during the week. But it's an opportunity to share kind of your love and enthusiasm for New London and sharing knowledge with visitors to the area. And we are looking for volunteers actively for that. With the window display project, or with Light Up New London, we will be looking for volunteers. We're going to be needing to partner with the property owners and businesses and doing some cleanups of windows and tidying of storefronts to kind of prepare things for the lighting. We're certainly, if someone wants to share some of their time, if they are skilled in the electrical field, that is not my area of expertise at all. But those are some opportunities also. But you can go to our website and find our contact information. And we will work on engaging with people that might be interested.
Now, as you're talking about engaging with owners to fix up properties, does that get tricky? I mean, you're an organization that's looking at the downtown very holistically, but private property owners really can kind of do what they want.
It can be. You're right. You're absolutely right. And in my mind, this is a project that we have reached out to several of the property owners that we are hoping to work with in the very near future, and they are supportive. They're interested in partnering and interested in working on this. Depending on how the fundraising goes for this, right? Because it's fundraising driven.
Of course, yeah.
That in my mind, this is something that maybe someone's not ready, doesn't fully understand what the commitment is. We can always go back and work with somebody who realizes how the project is going to affect them. This isn't something where it's a one-time opportunity. And if you miss this one opportunity, that it's sort of over. I mean, there's a lot of need downtown right now for all of these different projects. And the other thing too with the lighting project specifically is that we want to make sure that people who do have lights in their windows right now, that they're able to benefit from this as well. So we're definitely looking at the areas where there are long, dark stretches, but we want to make sure that if someone has lights in their windows and they need timers, or they want to upgrade to LED or some other really efficient way of lighting their space, that they can participate too. I mean, there's nothing worse than being told, you've already got, you don't get to participate. This is only
you already
for
made the
people.
investment
Exactly,
yourself, so
exactly.
you don't need help.
So we're hoping that we will be able to solve some lighting needs that people who already have lights in their windows might want some resolution to as well.
Now, one very recent downtown project was sort of the opposite way, redoing the parking lot on Eugene O'Neill and Green Street and Golden. Have you seen any kind of impact of the change in the parking lot, of traffic being a little slower, but the lot being sort of unfamiliar to people.
I have not heard that yet. I haven't heard it as an outright complaint or issue or concern. I think it's a really great project because that was
It is beautiful.
It's beautiful, and it's a little bit less. It was always sort of confusing driving through that lot before, and I remember finding myself in the wrong direction many times and thinking, I know this lot. How am I in the wrong side? Because it was one way.
Yeah, it's always been a very weird lot.
Yeah, exactly. But I think that it is much more well defined. You definitely. The other thing that I think a lot of people had issues with previously is that you didn't realize that was the parking lot that you were looking for until you had sort of swung around and you were either on Bank Street or you were heading on Route 1 towards Waterford. So it definitely looks like, this is a lot. This is where I'm supposed to be. And that's also important. And then I think the wayfinding signage is something that we need to work out, and maybe that's a project that we can look at going forward is, how do we direct people from the space?
Well, yeah, it seems as though one of the intentions of the new parking lot was to calm traffic, because I think between State Street and Tilley Street, it was a speedway.
It was.
I think the description was that the line of sight was as wide as both Gold Star bridges together.
Exactly. And I was just walking over in that direction today, and I wasn't even thinking about it because sometimes you get really into this planning brain and you're really analyzing it. And I remember in the past that you used to really have to feel like you had to race across the street and you might not get there in time. But because of the bump outs that are there, the space that as a pedestrian you need to cross in order to get to the other side of Eugene O'Neill, it's a much better experience now than it ever used to be. And I think it is probably slowing people down because when you have the narrowing, that's just, you have to slow down. And maybe it's going to take people a little while to get used to it because they're used to being able to blast through. But
on the other hand, if someone is crossing, it takes them less time to get across.
Exactly.
So in a way, they are slowing down the traffic less or interrupting the traffic less.
Exactly. It makes it much more pedestrian friendly without changing the traffic, just by changing that.
And I guess, a lot of what you're talking about with the lighting project is related to the fact that downtowns have to be pedestrian friendly.
You're absolutely right. Definitely.
And in New London in particular, the potential is that people will come on the train. Hopefully Shoreline East will continue and grow.
Yes.
On the ferry. And the water, you mentioned the water taxi. Do you have any details to share about how the water taxi will work this year?
Yeah, I know they're kicking off on Memorial Day weekend. I believe they're hoping to have a more expanded schedule, but I don't know the details on the schedule yet. They are hoping to partner with some of the downtown businesses and restaurants to have sort of an incentive type card to get people they're asking businesses to, provide some sort of a small gift, a discount, something like that to a pass holder for the water taxi. But I think that they're hoping to run at least a similar schedule like last year, so Friday, Saturday, Sunday, but expanding that. But I don't know a ton of the details related to that.
Well, now I'm going to ask you something that you might feel very far away from.
Okay.
But, I used to work on Thames Street in Groton, and, I would have loved to have had a water taxi to use to commute to work from Fort Trumbull to Thames Street. But what kind of development is happening in Groton on Thames Street? If someone from New London takes the water taxi and goes over to Groton, what will they find there?
That's a really interesting question. I know that the planning and economic development resources in the city of New London are working very closely with the city and town of Groton on this. so that they are working on projects to, promote businesses on both sides of the river and to really enhance and engage things there. I mean, I think many people know about Paul's Pasta. I mean, that's sort of an
Sure.
icon in and of itself. There are some other restaurants and places that you can eat. There are a few retailers there as well, but that is the goal. They've been working on a really great streetscape project in the city, and so the lighting, the sidewalks, and things in that area are really quite ready for people to come on over. I know that one of the goals at some point is trying to figure out how to make the approach from the Thames Landing area up to the fort itself a bit easier, because it's a trek.
It is.
I mean, I
And it's
like
not level.
It's not level, and you know what? I like the idea in my head of being able to almost reenact the Battle of Groton Heights. I mean, because you can take a boat across the river and you can storm up the hill to the fort, and that's something in my mind that's really kind of cool. But, on a hot summer afternoon, you might not be super excited about storming up a hill to the fort, or every time that you choose to do that. But I know that they are working really closely.
And I'm guessing the Heritage Park might be doing a little bit of some kind of connecting between the towns.
I think that they definitely are. And with that and with the Thames River Innovation Places, where they're working with the Cure Commons over in Groton as well, and really looking at ways that we can kind of grow our entrepreneurs and some of those businesses, that they're really working very closely on that too. And there are some kind of neat things going on along Thames Street and in that area.
Well, all I can think of is there are a lot of moving parts here.
There are a lot of moving parts, and I think that's why I wanted to look at what Main Street is doing and saying, okay, we know our program area, we know how we can be involved, and we need to stay focused on things that are going to be really great on moving downtown New London forward. And that's what I'm hoping to do with whether it's events, whether it's other programs, is just making sure that as we're looking towards the future and some of these new, shiny, exciting things, that we can really say we're getting there.
Oh, wait. Oh, well, that's okay. I was going to show, but I'm not, because we only have 5 minutes left. And someone else needs the laptop. I did have last year's big picture.
That's okay.
But just come and be in this year's
June
big
3rd.
picture.
Let's do it.
June 3rd, and exact time to be determined.
Right. It'll be between 10 and 10:30 in the morning, and then I think we may do one in the afternoon as well in the art park, to have one in each spot.
Now, there is a page on the website that talks about how people can get involved, and you
Yes.
mentioned volunteers and the trolley station. Since we only have about 5 minutes, are there still committees that people can join, and what kind of tasks would they be doing?
Sure. So we are working on, definitely we have a lot related to sort of promotion and marketing, and trying to, really look at how we can do those things better, or, great new ideas. And so that we're hoping to start a promotion type group up again. And then with sort of the design, with cleanups and this lighting projects. So just feel free to reach out, and on our website, you said, the contact information is there.
And people can still join as members, I'm guessing?
Yes, yep, absolutely. And our annual meeting is coming up in June. We haven't set a date for that either, but that will be coming up close to the end of June. So stay tuned.
And always volunteers, and events to go to.
Exactly.
The food stroll is a week from tomorrow.
A week from tomorrow, exactly.
And the family festival, June 3rd.
June 3rd, yep.
And there seems to be something for everyone there. And
Exactly.
while you're all downtown, maybe it'll be the biggest big picture yet.
We're hoping for it, exactly.
Well, thank you, Kristin.
This has been fun, thanks.
Well, thanks for coming on. I know it was kind of short notice, but
That's okay.
I was really glad, because when I realized the food stroll is a week away, it's like
That's perfect timing.
that it would be really great. Just reminding everyone out there again that the citywide cleanup is happening on Saturday, and whatever neighborhood you want to work in, I think the schools and Judy Cox in ODP will be sending out a list of all the participating neighborhoods. I don't know if there's anything downtown,
I
but
am not sure. I don't know off the top of my head.
but we would be happy to have anyone who wants to come to
Definitely.
Riverside Park, of course, to come to Riverside Park. We'll see everyone downtown. The other thing I wanted to talk about was next week, something totally different on this show. Melissa Everett and Martha Klein are going to be the guests. And they were in New London, about a month ago, talking about how people can advocate at the local level and at the state level for clean, renewable energy. I think one of them is from the Sierra Club, and the other, I don't remember what organization she's from, but they have a huge amount of information. And when we talk about economic development in our community, Kristin was talking about LED lights. We really do have to think about how to use our energy well. So we will see you next week. Thank you again,
Great.
Kristin. We'll see you strolling on
Sounds
State
like a
and
plan.
Bank Street for the food stroll and the Family Fest next month.
Great, thanks.